So I was brainstorming some ideas of what I would like to discuss for today, and one of them was about kind of mental health and sort of resetting depending on kind of how you're feeling that day or that week or whatever. So it's quite apt right now because ooh, yeah, today is kind of fallen off of the bandwagon, but we'll talk about that in a second. So, hello and welcome back to the Lion's Den. I'm your host Matt. As always, I want to stress the importance of looking after yourself. And as an example, today is kind of the only day I can see that's going to be good for recording, but currently I feel like poop. Just how do I don't know how to explain this without oversharing, because personal lives, don't want to do too much. Let's just say I've made some mistakes. I will hold my hands up and say I've made some mistakes. I have tried to rectify them and apologize, but I still feel like poop because hopefully that means I have a conscience. But that's not the point. The importance is knowing how to deal when you're in these kind of emotional states. When you're either feeling really drained because it's been a really busy time for you, or if you're scared because stuff is coming up, or maybe you're like me, maybe you've made mistakes and you've upset people and you just want to know kind of what's the best thing to do to help you through this point. Now the first thing I would say is there an immediate option to address the problem or to address the obstacle that you're facing, right? Like, if you're scared about something, is there some way you can prepare for it? If you've made a mistake, is there some way to fix it or to start repairing the issue? That kind of thing. And if you're maybe just burnt out and really tired, is there a way to either motivate yourself, or is the best option just to take a break? Because I think that's the one thing I'd like to stress is this week and perhaps like the last couple of weeks has been very, very difficult, I would say, at work. Lots to do, lots going on, lots of preparation for a really big process that's coming up, which I'm personally quite stressed about, even though it's perhaps not showing outwardly. Mainly just because it's unknown and the stakes are very high for it. The consequences of making a mistake is quite big, and that is daunting, to be honest. And yeah, I've been here almost a year now. Gosh, blimey. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it still feels quite daunting that it's this big thing, and I don't want to get it wrong, and I don't want to upset people or make mistakes that could potentially be really, really bad. And I think the best thing is I figured this out kind of slowly, and yesterday was a key example of it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of crashed yesterday. Work was quite tough. I came home with a huge headache, and I probably did the stupid thing, which was it was my normal gym day, and I'd just gotten a new program, so I decided to go to the gym because I wanted to do the new program. And now usually in my head I'm like, yeah, normally when I've had a rubbish day or when I'm feeling a bit low, going to the gym's great because it's exercise and it lifts you up and makes you feel better. But it was kind of the opposite. I actually started to feel physically sick, I think because my body was in a bit of imbalance. So I just had to be careful with that and figure that out. And then when I came home, I listened to my body and my brain, I suppose, which just said to me, stop. I got a shower, cooled off, and I got in bed and I just watched YouTube. I was going to do a couple of things that night. I was going to draw, I was going to play Smash, I was going to potentially do French, I think. I think I actually did do the French, but I did like the bare minimum to keep it going. No, I just said, no, I need to pause. And I think that's the concept of just getting through it, right? And that can be both a good and a bad thing. It can be good if you know that it's a small temporary measure and you're just going to try and push through and find your way to the other side because you know everything's going to be great. So for me, that's kind of like, I know that the scary big stuff at work is next week, so I just kind of have to build up to that point, push through the end of next week, and then hopefully everything starts to smooth out and get easier. But you also do have to be careful because if you don't know how long this scenario or this problem or issue or whatever it is that you're dealing with is going to last, you might not be able to just get through it just working your way through, because it might be so significant that that's not an option. You have to account for it. And I think yesterday is an example of rest days, which is funny because in the whole exercise scene, and especially for me with weight training, you have to have rest days unless you're insane, because that's when you rebuild. That's when you actually get stronger, is those pauses in between doing the exercise. And I imagine it's the same thing with our work lives and our mental states. You need to have a day where you just either do your hobbies that you really enjoy, or you just vegetate like I did yesterday. I didn't do anything after I came back from the gym because I just needed a break, and I needed my brain to just kind of relax and chill out. You know, that's an example as well of listening to your mind and listening to your body, which is really difficult, honestly, because it's not clear what the signals are. And oftentimes it might be that you need somebody to kind of point it out to you and go, yo, you should stop, or you should take a break, or you should pause, you know, because it's really hard and it's really easy to get lost in yourself and not realize what's really going on. So there are ways of reading yourself, kind of trying to figure out where you're at personally, but it's difficult and it will take a lot of time. For example, I know that a lot of the time when I'm feeling kind of exhausted and lacking energy, the best thing to do is probably go to the gym. Those days when I'm feeling really low energy wise, I then go to the gym, and that really perks me back up. I mean, yesterday was an example of that not working, but again, that's a rare case. And I think you just have to know when to try something. Even if you don't know what the correct option is or what state you're in currently, the best option is to just experiment and figure out if you can determine the cause and effect. It might be something as simple as listen to some music, or maybe it's go lie down in bed and just scroll through Twitter or something, you know, something simple or kind of thoughtless, I suppose is the best word I can think of, you know, where you can switch your brain off but still be doing something. Which is why when I used to do exam revision, that's what my brain defaulted to, is I would study throughout the day and then my evenings would just be YouTube, because it was those polar opposites between something really, really complicated and then something really simple and maybe benign. I'm not entirely sure if that's the right word, but kind of relaxing in the sense that my brain can switch off while still doing something to keep me going. And like, I wouldn't even watch TV shows because sometimes they can be a bit complicated, especially if you're trying to follow storylines and get into it. So YouTube is just kind of that perfect escape of being nothing, but also interesting because, yeah, a lot of my interests are covered by it. So yeah, it could be music, it could be watching YouTube. Maybe it's, for example, in my case, but kind of can be extrapolated, playing guitar, for example. That kind of methodical, letting your muscle memory take over and just enjoying the moment, enjoying the music as well that you're producing, because that can also be really nice. Sometimes I'll grab my guitar and sit down and just play chords that sound really nice, not even string them together, just here's a chord, strum, sounds nice. And I mean, that could be extrapolated to whatever instrument you play, depending on whether it's really, really loud. I mean, you know, if you have a big trombone, that might be a problem to just casually play, unless you have a space that you can do that. But yeah, you get my point, right? You'll have hopefully something that you can sit down with and just exist with. I know that sounds quite bleak, but sometimes it's just what you need. You just need to exist for a little bit to help carry you and bring you back up. Because it's a shock thing, you know. You can't just go from being really down in the gutter to just being sunshine and rainbows and loving life again. That's totally not how it works. You have to gradually build yourself back up to your normal or to even a better state, because it's hard. It is really hard. And there's this concept in physics called entropy, which is that all kind of matter will eventually merge into disarray and chaos. That's the overarching idea. And a good example of that is your living space. I guarantee you, every time you clean your living space, it's great, right? But it's a huge effort. And then it's so easy for it to just suddenly fall apart, and you've got wrappers everywhere. I've got a random train ticket from weeks ago in the corner of my desk that I should throw in the bin. But your mental state and your body can be kind of like that. It's really easy to just not put any effort in, not any energy, and your body just kind of goes again. And it's hard. Once you're in that low state, it's really hard to get back out, which is why you need to find what brings you back up slowly but surely. So like for me, YouTube. I could just sit down, it lets my brain kind of switch off and recharge a bit, and it helps me bring myself back up in happiness levels because it's entertainment. So yeah, I've kind of rambled on a bit longer than I expected to, but that's okay. sometimes I think we need to talk. A lot of people get a good amount of restoration out of just simply talking, which is probably why I do this. So I'm sure we can all get better together over time. And you know how I think the biggest thing to take away from this is it's okay to be bad. It's okay to be in that low state because everyone hits that point. The point you should be worrying is when you can't get out. If you can't get out, that's when you need to start seeking help, if you can, or hope that you have found a strategy to pull yourself back up, which for a lot of people may not be possible, but there is always an option. It might be hard to find that option, but there will always be an option. So I implore you to find your options. And it's something you should do when you're in a good place, because it'll be so much easier to find things when you're in a good place than scrambling around trying to figure out what to do when you're at your low points. So anyway, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all next week. Bye.